Hello everyone, welcome back to Allcarnews, and this week we have been driving the all-new 2025 BMW M235 Gran Coupe X-Drive. And this is a pretty interesting new vehicle as it's a new generation, technically, the F74 as BMW calls it. And even though it is technically, BMW says, a new generation, it's really a very heavy update from this previous generation 2 Series Gran Coupe. And I'm happy they actually still kept this car here in the United States as an entry-level way to get into the BMW brand, though at around $60,000 as this particular one is spec'd out to be right now. It's not particularly the cheapest way to get into the BMW brand, but I've been honestly having quite a blast driving this car around the past week. It's an awesome color. I personally like this new styling direction as a really great premium new interior and a lot of fun performance goodies that we'll definitely cover throughout the entirety of this video. Though, would you buy this over an all-new Audi S3 or a Mercedes CLA? Hopefully we'll be able to answer that question by the end of this review. Anyways, let's go dive in and see what's new with this 2025 BMW 2 Series Gran Coupe. So what's under the hood of this 2025 M235 Gran Coupe? And notice the I is no longer there. That has been cut off from the name. This is a very familiar powertrain, and we are lucky in the United States to get the full power out of this powertrain. This 2-liter B48 TwinPowerTurbo, as BMW calls it, is making 312 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque in this particular application. And as you may know, since we have reviewed the all-new BMW X2 M35i, this is pretty much of an exact identical powertrain, even with the Mini Countryman John Cooper Works, which we also reviewed last year. We have an all-new 7-speed dual-clutch transmission, sending power, of course, to all 4 wheels, and it's a pretty good torque distribution on this car. Yes, in some capabilities, it can be front-wheel drive to give you a little bit more of a efficient drive, but in other applications it sends quite a lot of power to the rear wheels, and this one with the M technology package is getting a little bit more stuff under the hood to make this car a little bit stiffer. We have a good differential up front to keep the power planted to the ground, and BMW has worked their M wizardry to make this feel a little bit more dynamic in the corners. It almost feels like it has a little bit more oversteer than understeer, which is not something you would typically see on a transverse front drive based architecture. Though this is now BMW's second foray, I would say, into their front-wheel drive transverse performance tuning application, and they've definitely fine-tuned a lot more stuff in this vehicle, even more so than the X2 M35 that we experienced last year, particularly with that 7-speed dual clutch. Now this can go to 0 to 60 in around 4.7 to 5 seconds, depending, I guess, on all your conditions. And we also have a very nice grippy summer tire on this particular car with this upgraded M technology package here. And under the hood, I think the engine bay is quite nice. We have a strut tower bar up here, a nice M styling engine cover over there, and everything's very compact and uptight and close there. So I don't know about working on this. It might not be the best thing on the planet, but I will say the hood closing sound is actually quite nice. Now, of course, we gotta talk about the elephant in the room here. And one thing that I have noticed many other outlets and reviewers, even very BMW focused outlets, saying that this thing is just not good looking. And personally, I totally disagree. I actually quite like the looks of this car. Again, styling is totally subjective to you guys, so if you like it, you like it. You don't like it, you don't like it. I'm not going to try to convince you otherwise, but I just think it looks pretty cool. I like that BMW is opening up their color palette for the 2 Series Gran Coupe, so we have this really nice Thunder Night style purple color on this particular one. I like these new headlights. I think they look really sleek and unique. We have full adaptive LED headlights here, nice signature daytime running lights that's pretty much in line with the rest of the BMW lineup now. And you know, as much as people want to complain, this is probably one of the best new BMW grills I think I've seen. You can get it optioned with an illuminated package around it. This one does not have that, though. I really like how sporty and kind of sleek it comes down to this really sharp point here. Really dynamic placement of the BMW badge, I would say. And in this M application here, it's really open. There's cooling everywhere. And if you peek down a little bit further into this lower area over here with this nice gloss black bumper here, we have a lot of aero inlets down here. There's one here, one behind, hidden here, and of course we have passive aero on the sides, hidden parking sensors and cameras around this front end. And honestly, you know, for a front drive platform, you know, the proportions aren't always going to be as nice as something like a M3 or an M4 with the long hood and rear wheel drive proportions. But for this, what they're able to do, I think this is pretty good. I think it looks better than the new S3, for example. I'm really not a fan of that new grille. And the CLA, you know, it's a Gran Coupe style vehicle too, a little bit longer and sleeker, but I still think this looks better. But I'll leave that up to you guys in the comment section down below. Coming over to the wheel and tires area over here, you have plenty of tire and wheel options on the all-new 2 Series Gran Coupe, especially in this M35 variant here. And these are probably one of the most unique pairings, I would say. With this M technology package, we have these 19-inch forged orbit multi-spoke wheels here. Really, really cool design. I really didn't think I was gonna like them when I saw them on the online configurator, but in person, they're actually quite nice. And they hide all of the brake dust that's coming off of these M compound brake pads and brakes over here. And these pads, I believe, are derived from the M3 and M4. So you have some serious stopping power on this car, which I definitely can attest to on the road. And this particular combo is paired with a pretty aggressive Goodyear, more summer-focused performance. Tire over here, not a lot of tread, but we have a lot of grip, I would say. This thing handles really, really well in corners, very planted, lots of great mechanical grip there, which I quite like. And with its front differential, it does help to put power down really, really well. And I guess another controversial bit here is BMW has now put their M-style mirrors on non-true full M cars, I would say. I think it looks good in this application. Is it a little goofy? I guess, but we're gonna see it on everything now, so I would say just get over it. And of course, coming into the side area of this car, of course, this is a Gran Coupe, and I do like how BMW is putting their model designation on the Hofmeister kink area over here. We have a little 2 right here, and since it is a Gran Coupe, opening up the doors, we are completely frameless, which is really nice. I think this is a cool premium touch, so the window will kind of dip down a little bit when you open and close it, just like the regular coupe model, and it gives it a really nice premium look, I would say. Over here on the rear end of this all-new BMW M235 Gran Coupe is a totally new look. I wasn't the biggest fan of the rear design of the LCR or pre-generation 2 Series Gran Coupe. I think this definitely fixes up the rear end a little bit. Again, styling is totally subjective. You guys like it, you like it, you don't. I think this looks a little bit better. We have these new taillights, which are very reminiscent of the ones you'll get in the 1 Series hatchback, which we do not get in the US market. They also remind me of a little bit of the all-new X2 taillights as well. A little bit more angular, a little bit more dynamic, and they do some cool selectable animations when you turn on and off your vehicle. I think that's quite nice. This one is getting this gloss black spoiler up here built into the deck lid, which I think is cool. And of course, since it's a Gran Coupe, we have this nice sloping rear roof line, as well as a full black roof and a massive panoramic glass opening roof up there, which was also quite nice. Coming down to the lower area, we have a little bit of this kind of faux diffuser here design with the black lower gloss area. I love this painted gloss black instead of just a plastic or something. And as you know, we're seeing on the new, well, pretty much every single M vehicle now, even the M lights, we're getting quad exhaust tips, so this one is no exception. I do kind of like how on this particular car, they're almost like staggered a little bit, and they have a little bit more of this kind of dark chrome finish, which I think is quite nice. And compared to the X2 M35, which we reviewed last year, this honestly sounds a little bit louder, so I think they, again, worked a little bit more magic on this car to make it feel just a little bit more special. Nonetheless, let's open up our trunk over here. Of course, opens up pretty quickly, and you can see it is stuffed with a whole bunch of bags and things, and that just kind of gives to show you how much space you have in the rear of the trunk area over here. It is a small trunk, don't get me wrong. Opening up the floor area over here is going to give you a little bit more storage, but it's not that big of an interior or cargo space for this vehicle. But that's pretty much what we're going to see across this class. These are a very, very small, very like almost subcompact class of premium entry-level luxury vehicles. I do wish there was a little bit more of an easier way to close the trunk, so you don't have to like grab the spoiler or paint and get your fingerprints all dirty. You can kind of grab it a little bit in here. It's a little bit of a weird motion though, so I'd like to see it like a handle or something in there. Okay guys, we're gonna go hop in the rear end of the 235 Gran Coupe, and here we have our newer style BMW key fob. I actually am a huge fan of this. It's like metal, it feels really sturdy, and we have those M colors on there. But you can unlock this car using your phone, using the M key card, which is like a credit card inside. You can use the key fob. There's so many ways to get in and out of this car, but we're just going to use the key fob right now and check out the little dance the taillights and headlights will do, which is really cool when you unlock and start the vehicle. You can change that pattern as well. Now, unfortunately, they were not able to change the sizing of this rear seat. It's still pretty small, and we also have the older style BMW door handles, which are nice. I do like the closing sound of the doors. I think that sounds really sturdy, but let's go hop inside and see if I fit back here. And also the door handles and everything and the door panels on the interior are quite nice. Of course, a little bit harder plastics, but you know, this is an entry level vehicle, but everything is put together so solidly as you would expect from a BMW. This is a nice Vaganza style material here, as well as on the doors, very sturdy, and a massive speaker grille for our Harman Kardon audio system. Let's hop inside. Getting in, it is a really tiny opening actually, so you kind of have to duck in to get inside this car. Closing up the door, again, nice and solid thunk. The windows go up, you know, this is a frameless door. And here is my space back here, and oh boy, we already have a problem. It's pretty tight and my head does not fit back here whatsoever, but thankfully I get to look at these really nice M kind of sports seats we have up here. It's an M logo right there. We can see the back of our driver's head if you do choose to do so. And since we have to have such a big cutout here for my knees and feet, we don't have any rear seat storage on either of these seats. Thankfully we do have air vents back here, which honestly I'm going to need though. No heated seats or anything back here. 2 USB-C ports, which are very quick charging, and some nice premium carpeting down here. The seats themselves are quite nice. We've seen these seats before on the X2 M35, which is quite nice. This kind of a micro suede material with this M style stitching, the Vaganza vegan leather style material, and I like this little M badging piping on the sides of the seats. They're really nice and quite comfortable. And this material, you know, it will keep you gripped, but you definitely will get hot in here. It's not very ventilated. If it's on a hot day, you're going to feel like your whole back and pants are sweaty because they just don't ventilate very well. I do like the design of everything back here. Is quite nice. Opening down this little center console area over here, we do have 2 cup holders and an armrest, but I have to say it is really tight back here. We do have lights as well if you feel a little bit cramped, you can turn on, and this large panoramic glass roof. But let me just show you how much headroom I actually have, or well, I guess don't have. Okay everyone, yeah, it's tiny back here. I literally can't sit back here. I'm 6 feet tall, and I did say it's a pretty average height, and honestly, I kind of have to like duck my head. My head is completely pressed against this roof, sitting completely up. I kind of have to like shimmy myself down just a little bit to try to get back, and still it's hitting the back of this roof. So it is definitely a smaller vehicle in here. Okay guys, let's go hop up front now in the 2 Series Gran Coupe. Opening up our doors, again, frameless doors. And we can see the same nice materials up front here. And we have more ambient lighting on these front doors. This Harman Kardon logo glows, for example, at night. Nice, more contrasting blue stitching. I think they're built very well. And then we have these sport bucket seats over here. We have a lumbar on the driver's seat, power adjustment. And we also have manual thigh adjustment as well over here, which is quite nice. And these seats are really good actually. I would say it bolstering you going around corners. They have a really cool pattern up here as well. This M logo does glow, which is kind of nice at night, and this material over here has this red and blue pattern behind the perforation, so you can kind of see that color shift, which I think is really cool. Though like I said with the rear seats, there's no perforation on the seats themselves, and it does get a little warm, I would say, on just like a normal summer day. But let's hop inside and check out this interior. Getting in, again, pretty easy to get in up front versus the rear seats. Nice solid door thunk there, and here we are in this crazy new interior. Okay everyone, this is a really big upgrade versus the previous, or I guess pre-LCI or pre-generation of this vehicle. Everything is totally different, and I think that's for the better. Let's power it up. So put our foot on the brake, and we're going to find our start stop button right here on the center console. It does pulse. Let's turn it on. Here's some iconic sounds coming through the speakers here. Crazy ambient lighting all around us. And this is a nice new space for this vehicle and this generation of cars. So what are we looking at? Up front, here we have the new generation style M steering wheel. This is something you're going to find across higher end M products like an M5, for example. We've seen this steering wheel before too. It has this really cool hollowed out kind of geometric design on the lower end, M badging, nice contrasting M stitching. It's nice and chunky as you'd find on a particular M car. And we have this red 12 o'clock marker up here as well. Now also you're going to find these new paddle shifters over here that are quite big. They have a nice grip behind them, and they're hollow on the plus and minus. This left hand is a boost paddle, so you can hold this, you'll get a little bit of some overboost. Automatic wipers and headlights as well. We have our headlight controls here, and how newer BMW styles, you just press this button to access the breadth of your settings, and it goes right there. wiper controls are right there, and even our interior lighting, you can just press this button up there and it'll bring you to interior lighting controls, which is kind of cool. So you can change your ambient lighting on the fly or just use the voice assistant as well. And this gets a lot of cool ambient light colors. We have this cool new panel over here, and even on the door, on the side of the dash over here, we have these cool light panels which do reflect a little bit into the mirrors at night, so you might want to turn on reduce for night driving. And as you can see, the Harman Kardon logo does glow. We have some more ambient lighting here, so a lot of cool stuff going on in this interior, especially at night. But we do have to talk about the whole new structure of this interior here. We have all new air vents as well, so they're split design now, and we have this style we've seen on the newest generation 5 and 7 series, where you have this really interesting way to kind of move the vents around and open and close them. I like how we still have controls for this, but it's definitely something to get used to. On the dash here, we have this kind of M stitching going across the dash. This is feels like an injection molded style dash. Very solid, not hard, it doesn't feel cheap, but you know, I'd like to see the Vaganza stitching up here. That would have been a little bit nicer. And also we have our all new displays. This is the new iDrive 9 style system. It is a curved unit, as you can see right here, which is kind of cool. So we have a full digital cluster here. It's shrunken down versus some other BMWs, so you may see graphics just a little bit tinier than expected, but we've seen this on all BMWs. And since this is an M model at the end of the day, and M Lite, I would say, we do have M graphics on our personal mode here. And of course, everything is fully customizable. We can change all of the content in the center, from maps to G-force meters to fuel economy. We can even change the layout of our tachometer and speedometer there, which is kind of cool. So you can really customize this to however you want. Same thing goes with the heads-up display. There are lots of different views. You can kind of customize that too as well. So lots of customization on all these BMWs now, which is quite nice. And different drive modes will give you different themes and designs. And speaking of drive modes, this one has quite a lot of those. So we can access that from this center console panel over here, which is a nicely designed panel, I have to say. We have this really sleek shifter we've seen on all new BMWs with an S mode for our 7-speed dual clutch. Hard buttons for our front and rear defrost, our parking sensors, and full 360 camera system, because we have the advanced parking package. So pressing that button on this panel here is going to open up our camera system here. We have the full backing up assistant, so you can record paths. You can also have an assist view as well, a panoramic view up front, and a whole bunch more camera angles, settings. You can clean the cameras. This is a fantastic system. If you've been in any modern BMWs, this is, and like I said before, we can access our drive modes here by pressing that little button here. So we can have our personal, sport, efficient. These are our core 3 drive modes. Swiping over are, I would say, experience modes. Efficient totally changes the driving dynamics of this car. It focuses on being efficient. The throttle is very light. You don't really have a lot of response, but that's all in favor of getting you really good MPG, which this car can get, which I think is pretty cool. Sport, for example, has a lot of customization as well. You also get unique gauges over here. Popping into the individual settings, you can change the drivetrain from Comfort Sport or Sport Plus. You can change your driving dynamics to Sport, Sport Plus, or full traction control, DSC off, and even your steering as well you can customize. So lots and lots of fun things here. And even in the regular personal mode, you have customization options you can kind of go through as well. So like I said, lots of individualization you can do on this vehicle here. And when you sign on with your BMW app, which you definitely have to do when you buy one of these new cars, you unlock even more stuff and more customization features as well. But you know, overall quality is really strong. It fits a very premium interior, I would say, for this class. I quite like it a lot. And one of my favorite things that BMW does really well is their wireless charging and just general charging systems. We have a huge wireless charging mat here, which is ventilated and ambient lit. And we have a little hidden storage cubby up here, which can actually fit another phone, and it's grippy, so things won't just slide out of it as well, which is quite nice. 12-volt socket, 2 USB-C ports, which charge so quickly. It's honestly quite impressive. It's like more powerful than like those bricks you'll find from like your iPhone, for example. We also have a nice volume scroll knob here, which has this nice knurled pattern on it, as well as forward and reverse track functions as well. And we have a quick access mode here to get to our driving dynamics and driver assistance pages here on our iDrive 9 screen here, which is quite nice. We have some hard buttons here, so navigation, telephone, and media. When you're signed in with Apple CarPlay, for example, these will take you to your Apple Music or Spotify, your Apple phone, or you know, if you're an Android Auto, your phone, and navigation will take you to Apple Maps or Waze, whatever you just had previously open. So that's really cool. Driver assistance screens, I really like what they do on this iOS or OS 9 software. The minis do this as well. On the newer ones, you have really cool graphics for all of your driver assistance systems and great explanations for everything as well. So I really like this. It's really easy to kind of go around and see this. It's a lot easier than just having a menu of all this stuff laid out. I like the graphics. And you know, this system is pretty good. It's pure touch based in this car. You don't have any iDrive controller in this car. So, you know, it may take a little bit of getting used to if you're used to having that iDrive controller, or, you know, you're just not used to having a pure touch interface. But I would say over the last year, it's definitely gotten a lot better. Before, I would say it was a little bit slow and laggy. Now it's definitely quicker, I would say, to touch, and they've fixed some issues, I would say, with the climate system. So for example, if your climate controls are off now, completely off, you can still, from any screen, access your heated seat and heated steering wheel without having to turn the climate controls on. This can also be a quick access panel to Apple CarPlay if you have that connected. And this is your new home screen. It's no longer those widgets that go across. It's more of this side widget panel over here that you can kind of customize to your liking. And you can change this panel as well. So right now we have it as maps. If we're in Apple Maps or Waze, this will be Apple Maps or Waze here, which is kind of cool. Swipe over here, you can also change it to your My Modes display. So just have it as a nice background. We also have a full app drawer. And this is, I would say, the most confusing part of this infotainment system. There's just a lot of stuff in here to kind of go through. They kind of separate it out a little bit from infotainment, vehicle, recently used things, and your digital premium subscription, which you do actually have to pay for, around $10 a month. So you'll unlock like the Air Console games you can play with your phone, upgraded maps, the full personal assistant, some additional exterior lighting functions as well. So this one does have, you can change the welcome and goodbye. So you have a whole bunch of different patterns here for your lights to turn on and off, which is pretty cool. You can adjust your headlight pattern as well at night, which is kind of cool. But yeah, guys, this is a good general overview, I would say, of this interior. It's definitely compact. It's definitely a little tight and small, but you know, for a front passenger and driver, it's nice. Rear seats a little bit on the tighter end. Lots of nice storage cubbies and spaces. I like this center armrest over here. It's a little bit on the harder end, but still has a nice softness to it. Good amount of storage in there. As you can see, I have some junk, but we also have a nice normal glove box. It does have a hidden button up here, but thankfully it is just a regular button and not like a push button to open it from the screen. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting interior. We have an interior camera too if you want to take pictures. You know, our controls for our roof as well, and we also have, of course, illuminated mirrors in here, so that's nice. But yeah, it's a cool space. The only main complaint I would really say is I don't like the driving position. It's just a little bit too high for me. This is my eye level right here. I prefer when I'm sitting a little more in the car like this, but you know, that's just a platform of this vehicle. But let's go take this thing on a drive and see how it handles out on the road. So how is this all-new BMW M235i to drive Gran Coupe, of course? Well, I was pleasantly surprised by this car. One thing off the first front, it's stiff. It's a very, very stiff platformed vehicle, and you can feel that around town over here, especially with these roads. It's really just ending winter season here. There are potholes everywhere. You can hear gravel all over the place from all the potholes. It's definitely a rougher experience, I would say. Going over bumps, you feel it. So you may want to consider looking at the non-M235 Gran Coupe, or another BMW, honestly a Countryman from Mini if you really want to go SUV, or the X1, X2. Those are pretty soft if you don't go for the M variants. But yeah, so definitely stiff off the first bat is one thing I noticed. Steering, generally very quick ratio for this class of vehicle. I'd say it's very sharp and precise, though there isn't a lot of feel or good feedback, I would say, but it is still very precise and quick of a steering rack. It's good. Once you're in a corner, when you're driving a little more, it does load up well, I would say, which is nice, but you know, it's what we expect from modern BMW steering. Let's see, we're moving pretty well here, which I actually quite like. Everything else in here is very, you know, typical new BMW class. We have the newer style switchgear, newer style iDrive controls here. But I have to say, this might be my favorite application of the high output B48 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine I have ever driven so far. I like this better than from the X2 M35 that I've driven, which is essentially an X1 M35, and I like it way better than I experienced in the all-new Mini John Cooperworks Countryman that we also test drove last year. I don't know, I'm not sure what they did here. It just feels snappier and more on throttle. It feels like all the time, even in this personal setting here. I can pop it into our sport setting here, which allows us to even go further and activate a Sport Plus mode. You can hear those fake engine iconic sounds coming in there, which is kind of funny as well. But yeah, we're gonna do a quick acceleration here and just have a listen to the iconic sounds on the interior here. It's kind of comical, honestly, but it's the exact same sounds we heard in the like I mentioned before, I really wasn't the biggest fan of it. It's still, in this application, it does a lot of dual clutch things at low speeds. It kind of lurches if you don't come to a full stop. You can't really creep in traffic with these dual clutches without kind of feeling that slipping feeling. But I don't know, it's kind of a more natural experience, more raw experience, I guess. I know most people probably won't like it, but I don't mind it actually. Though when you're on throttle, shifts are crisp, and I like how they've tuned this gearbox in this particular car, especially when you're in the sport transmission mode. The whole car moves, and you feel that shift. It feels like an M-tuned gearbox, which I think is a really, really nice thing here. I actually quite like that a lot. So it has a lot of character, this car, and it honestly surprised me in that aspect. It has pretty good actual turbo whoosh sounds. If you kind of lower the windows a little bit, you can definitely hear those, which I like out of this B48 engine. That's kind of a characteristic thing of it. I'll put the transmission in sport here for you guys to listen to real quick. This thing's quick. This thing's really quick. Yeah, so I really like it in that point. But then it also has that ability to become a more calmer driving vehicle. You can pop it into efficient mode, get 30 miles per gallon on the highway. It has that mild-ish hybrid system. It's not a 48-volt system. It has like a little bit of a larger battery where it is able to kind of recharge when you're kind of coasting around to power some accessories. BMW's had this for quite some time now, though. Okay, guys, let's head out onto the highway now. Pop it into sport mode. I have it in Sport Plus setting right now. I'm going to show you guys this gearbox one more time in S. It's fun. I really like how this thing takes a corner. It feels so planted and gripped to this road. This is a really fun car. I almost want to say this is more enjoyable than some other BMWs to drive, just because it's a little bit more of that raw experience here. I'm hearing turbo whoosh is coming under the dash, and I have the iconic sounds turned off right now, which is all that popping and stuff coming through the speakers. And I'm actually happy that I'm hearing some actual natural noises coming from this powertrain, as well as the aggressive transmission changes we get out of the sport transmission mode here. Even with not in sport transmission mode, really aggressive feeling powertrain here. So I like this duality of this B48 and this newer tuning application. I really, really like what they did here. But out here on the highway, you could also pop it just into efficient, and it goes all the way down to the lowest revs it can. It can coast if it needs to. And of course, we have our driver assistance professional package here. So set our speed and let it go. It finds the lanes. It can keep you in the lanes. It has that steering assist, and under around 40-ish miles per hour, it has traffic jam assist. So you can basically drive hands-free in that sense. You have those infrared cameras looking at your eyes to make sure obviously you're looking at the road for that. But yeah, this is a really, really fun car. And of course, we have lane change assist as well, so I could just tap the indicator there. Make sure your hand's on the wheel. I don't have to move it, but it does so. If you are using BMW's built-in navigation system to the car, it will change lanes depending if it thinks you need to get onto that side for an exit, and it'll look around, make sure it's safe, change lanes. So that's a really, really cool function there. But you can use this auto lane change function really whenever you want when you're in this drive assistant professional mode, which is really cool. Yeah, this is a really good car. I'm impressed already. There's some interesting quirks like I've noticed already, like the ambient light thing, and I don't like the seating position of UKL based vehicles, which is the X1, X2, pretty much all the minis and this car, at least in the United States. I just feel like I'm sitting too high for like a BMW-esque vehicle. I'm not used to doing that, I guess, for this car, but they've made it work, I think, here. The proportions are a little funky, but I think it still ends up working. yeah, I like it. Other than it being stiff, this is a great powertrain. I like now that this is, I guess, not really a BMW thing, but if you're using Waze, if you're a Waze user for navigation, it shows up in our digital cluster now. So now you can use pretty much any map system in this car from either like Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, and it will show up here as the map, which I think is absolutely awesome. Even on our homepage over here, if I go to my home card, I can put maps on, and now I have Waze there instead of Apple Maps or the BMW navigation system. So I think that's really, really cool. Okay, everyone, to sum up this week in the BMW M235 Gran Coupe for 2025, you know, it's been honestly a really fun car for me as a driver to drive around this week. It's really fuel efficient when it wants to be. I think it handles itself pretty well. I think they've really tuned in their, you know, UKL driving dynamics for the BMW side of it. So I really do like that. And, you know, this does feel like a more improved vehicle than it was before. You have the newer gearbox, you know, it has upsides and downsides, I would say. A little bit more power, and, you know, just overall tweaked interior design, exterior design, interior, just digital interface, build quality. Everything feels a little more special and designed specifically for this vehicle than it did before. Does it feel, you know, like more of a car than, you know, a 3 Series or a 4 Series? And when you consider the pricing of this particular one as configured with all of these options we're seeing on this car, and there are still more, it's around $60,000. And, you know, just for like 6, 7, 8 grand more new, you can look at like an M340 or an M440 lower specification, maybe not with all the bells and whistles you're going to get in this car, and even an M240 Coupe, for that example, which shares that architecture, that more traditional BMW architecture. So it's definitely an interesting proposition. I could expect these to become a little bit more of a better value for a potential entry-level BMW consumer used. Though once you start comparing it to some competitors like an Audi S3, which, you know, has more power, but though this is a little bit more of a unique vehicle in that car, I think it's a real true direct competitor. But, you know, Mercedes is kind of moving out of the space just a little bit. They only have the CLA now, and I think it's bold for BMW to continue in this space. I'm curious to see how this car does. You know, personally, I think it looks great. I like the interior, I like the exterior design, I like the color choices. I like this fun, compact, sporty BMW package just compressed down a little bit. So yeah, that's how I feel about this car. It's definitely an interesting one. I think it's a little bit on the too pricey side for me personally, but from all the features you're getting, you're still getting that quality. You're still getting a cool signature BMW, I would say, driving experience. And overall, at the end of the day, it's going to be a pretty solid car that's both combines efficiency and decent handling and decent power all in one package with a BMW badge. As always, guys, thank you for tuning in on yet another video over here at Allcarnews. Make sure to subscribe, and as always, stay tuned for more coming soon. Cheers.